Good evening, everyone. We'll give folks another minute or two to join us, and then we'll get started. All right. Well, welcome again, everyone, to our second Tiger Talk of our Tiger Talk summer webinar series. My name is Casey Ford, and I serve as a director in the Gantt Center for Student Experience, and a large part of my role is supporting our parents and families. So we know that you are likely hearing and spending a lot of time talking about your students' transition, and we want to acknowledge that you all, as those supporters, are having a transition of your own. And so we do that in a few ways over the summer. Many of you have likely engaged with our virtual orientation platform, maybe have had a chance or will have a chance to come to campus for a Ready, Set, Roar session this year. But we also have this webinar series. So we know that you cannot always get every question answered or spend as much time as you would like with campus partners through those other modalities. And so this is kind of our attempt at offering some of that in-depth face time, giving you the chance to get your questions answered as we get further and further into the summer. A couple quick overview items and housekeeping before we get into tonight's content. So here in a second, we will continue to welcome you. You'll hear some introductions from our presenters who have joined us for tonight, and then each of them will present our content. So tonight is our Calling Clemson Home session. We are going to talk all things housing and dining, and give you a chance to ask any questions that go along with that content. So you'll hear that content, have the chance to ask any questions that come up for you throughout that time. We will wrap up with some closing remarks and reminders, and that will conclude our time. You are likely way more familiar with Zoom than you ever cared to be at this point, but just a reminder that there are a couple differences in the Zoom webinar environment compared to kind of our regular Zoom meeting. So you'll notice that audio and video has been muted. That is intentional, just so we can make sure we are giving the stage, so to speak, to our panelists. You do have the ability to submit questions. We would ask that you use that Q&A button in your toolbar to do that. So we will use the chat to share out links, information, or resources that may go along with what we're sharing. And so we will utilize the chat for that, but would prefer that you not send anything in the chat. So if you could use that Q&A button, that helps each of us as a panelist keep track of questions that are coming in. We're also not able to use or respond to the hand raise tool. So again, if you are able to submit any questions into that Q&A feed, that is where they will make their way over to us. And then we'll make sure that we answer those either directly in that chat or out loud for the group. And then finally, you are also likely noticing on your screen that this is being recorded. So if you have a question and want to come back and reference this later, or maybe know of other families who are not able to make it, don't worry, this is going to be recorded. We will post that on our Clemson Family Programs YouTube page and then share that out through the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. All right, at this time, I will transition over to our presenter introductions, starting with Dr. Lisa Evinger.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Lisa Evinger. I am our Assistant Vice President for the Residential Experience, and I'll be talking tonight about your students' on-campus living experience. Next up, Mason.
Thank you. My name is Mason Mitchell. I am the Assistant Director of Mobility Services and Transportation Demand Coordinator for Parking and Transportation Services. So I'll be talking a little bit about first-year parking and transit options on campus.
Hi, everyone. My name is Dr. Maria Victoria Perez. I am the Associate Dean of Students here at Clemson, and I will be answering questions and supporting my colleague, Steven.
And hey, everybody, I'm Steven from the CARE Network here at Clemson. CARE is here for any student for any issue. And today we're going to be focusing on off-campus housing. And so really excited to explore that with you today and excited that you'll be here soon.
Awesome. All right, kicking us off is Clemson Home.
So we are excited to welcome you to campus in a couple of short months. Students are right now selecting their housing for the academic year. So wherever your student has chosen or will choose here shortly, we have lots of great places on campus for students to live, lots of different types of housing environments for them to choose from as well. Next slide. Well, really what we want is in every community for students to focus on 4 areas that we believe create a really transformational and empowering experience for students during their first year. And those include their ability to explore a little bit more about who they are, to connect with their peers, but also with academic resources on campus, to engage in an experience that is first centered in their academic experience at Clemson, but also related to all of the things that can enrich that, whether that's an additional creative inquiry or interactions with our faculty and residents who live on campus, or extracurricular offerings like intramural sports or any of our many clubs and organizations. And we aim to help connect them to that. As well as their ability to lead. And in the first year, those are usually more minor engagement opportunities, but we hope to set the stage for some real future elements that they'll have, including some ability to connect in their first year to the Career Center so that they become exposed to things like resume help, how to apply for jobs through the Clemson Job Link. Next slide. So we have several communication strategies that we utilize to really fulfill some of this learning that we think happens on campus. One of those is intentional Tiger Talks that we'll sit down with your student one-on-one, and we won't make it feel like a formal interview. It's really just a conversation, but it's like, hey, how are things going? Have you connected to an organization on campus that you're enjoying? Tell me more about that, right? Or what are your goals for this semester? How do we help connect you to the things that you might need to fulfill those goals? And that allows us really to get to know a student one-on-one and to really design the way that we move them towards resources and experiences based on that individual student. We also plan big group events, both social in nature, because we know that students really desire to connect with one another, to make friends, to feel like they belong here on campus, but also things that help to bring some of those resources to them, or to give them an opportunity to learn about a particular topic that may be of interest. We also utilize things like newsletters and bulletin boards to share information in a more passive format as well. Next slide. You can see here some of the themes that we utilize across different months, really giving a progress from an introduction to the campus through some of their individual learning, and finally kind of really celebrating out the first year experience that they've had here at Clemson. Next slide. At the heart of the connections that your students make are residential community mentors. You might know them as an RA. It's essentially the same job as a resident assistant, but we don't call it that because there's a really strong focus on the mentorship aspect, the role modeling and leader portions of what a residential community mentor can do in their community. It really is important for them to get to know your student one-on-one. So they're going to make a special effort to do that, but really would encourage you to talk to your student now about being open to developing that relationship, because we have trained our residential community mentors in many topics over a couple of week period, and also supervise them very closely throughout the year so that they can be a real connection, a real peer connection, powerful peer connection for your student. So we want them to be able to do that together. Next slide, please. They're certainly not the only staff in our community. We have graduate community directors who are part of a master's in higher education program here at Clemson, as well as full-time master's level community directors in each of our communities who are helping to facilitate these experiences and supervise our staff, as well as some case management GAs who work in concert with our friends at the Office of Advocacy and Success to provide support and to connect students to resources, and also our faculty and residents who are in our communities to have informal relationships with students. And those are really neat to watch. When your faculty member is there at 10 p.m. in the residence hall with chocolate chip cookies, they become a real person. And there are a lot of opportunities that our faculty have had to help students talk about how they advance their research goals or how they connect to academic internships and other things in really informal settings. And that's been neat to watch. Next slide. Of course, unless your student picked one of the coveted single rooms on campus, they will have a roommate, perhaps one or three or four roommates in total. And so we want them to be prepared to move onto campus knowing that conflict is normal. In fact, we want them to learn skills around conflict resolution. Now, I'm not saying that everybody's roommate experience is going to be horrible. A lot of people have lovely roommate experiences. But if it's a little challenging to live with someone else because they've never done that before, we are here to help. On the front end, you can help them by encouraging to talk to their roommate in advance, not just about what are you bringing, what am I bringing, but also what they want their on-campus living experience to look like. Also talk to your student about how to set boundaries, how they want to communicate those boundaries, because talking about how people share a space and having reasonable expectations, but also important boundaries that are set are some of the foundational elements. And they'll do that with us through a roommate agreement when they arrive. And again, we have the ability to step in to help them refine that as they go, or also have formal conflict mediation opportunities if those are needed. Next slide, please. Your students will also be eating on campus. Their meal plan will have a certain number of swipes associated with it. Most first-year students are on an unlimited meal plan with 100, 200, or 300 pop points. And the unlimited meal plan will allow them to go in and out of our 3 main dining halls at the Dish, at Shaletter, or at the Hub as often as they want. In 30-minute increments. So they can go in, grab a cup of coffee, go to class, come back, have a full breakfast, go do something else, eat lunch, et cetera, et cetera. And so our dining halls really become places of community for students. But of course, their meal plans also have pop points associated with them that are for our retail locations. We have a wide variety of retail locations on campus, and they're spread out across campus in such a way that students can find something just about anywhere that they're at. Next slide. We are committed to making sure that students have a good dining experience. And so we do have a dining advisory board that your student can be a part of. Comment cards are taken very seriously. We have lots of events and promotions that are happening on campus. Next slide, please. And if your student has a particular dietary need, and we know that some of them may, it is a possibility to really tailor our approach to ensuring that that student gets access to what they need. You can reach out to Hannah, our registered dietitian at nutrition@clemson.edu, and ask her questions or gather some information about where your student may be able to best access things in the dining hall. For instance, there is a station in each dining hall that does not include in its cooking any of the top 9 allergens. And so those students who have those particular allergies are always served at those stations and can learn to navigate the nuances of other stations. But also Hannah will take students on individual tours if necessary, show them how to navigate on-campus dining. And here are some of our many on-campus retail locations. We are adding new ones every year. So if a student has feedback about something that they would like to eat on campus that we do not have, we would always love to hear that as we plan for our next options. Next slide. Finally, move-in is right around the corner. Once your student has selected their assignment, they can go into the portal to select a move-in appointment. Those move-in appointments are stratified so that we have enough space around a particular building during that move-in period for us to unload students efficiently and then have them get set up in their spaces. So you'll be able to select from the number of appointments that are available for that particular building on that day at that time. If you find that the move-in appointment that you have originally scheduled does not work for you, you can, up until right before the move-in time period, go in and cancel that appointment and then select a new one. You don't need to contact us to do that unless you're changing it right at the time of. We have move-in information that will be available on our website. It includes really detailed instructions and guidance for folks. We will also be pushing out information throughout the summer. We have 3 chunks of information that we send that are specifically tailored and timed for what we think that you would be thinking about right then, or really what you should be doing right then to prepare for move-in. So please pay attention to that closely and follow each of those steps step by step. Next slide, please. Please do follow us for more information. We'll be pushing social media posts out as well, in addition to emails that will come through our portal. And the dining social media always has great information about the dining events that are going on, as well as any adjustment to dining hours on campus and the most recent information about other special events that may be happening.
Hello, everyone. Like I said, we'll be covering a little bit about parking and transportation services. This is going to be a different talk for me than what's previously come in the past because of the new policy that's going into effect this year, which we'll cover on the first slide. Next slide, please. So the first year resident student parking program beginning the fall semester 26, essentially freshman students are no longer allowed to have cars on campus. We do have a waiver process that I will talk about later. And just a definition of who is a first year student. First year student is defined as anyone whose academic classification is first time freshman. That essentially means if you're coming out of high school with credits or anything like that, you are still considered a freshman on campus. And we do go more in depth on our website, and we have our entire student parking page for this first year program on there as well. If anything on this website doesn't clearly cover what you need, feel free to send us an email, which will be up on the last screen. Next slide, please. So a little bit about program exemptions and waivers. We are allowing a limited number of parking on campus for freshmen. For these exemptions, this has a list on our website as well with what we do cover. And like I said, there's another slide that shows those kind of exemptions. And then in each tab, there's a kind of description of what is what we kind of expect for each exemption. And then there's also another category. So if you feel you do not fall into one of those categories, then you are welcome to submit another exemption as well, because we know there's a vastness out there of what students may need their cars for on campus. Next slide, please. So this is probably the most important slide of mine because it shows you when everything opens and closes for this upcoming fall semester. So we are accepting applications beginning June 5th, and then the deadline will close June 21st. After that, the waivers will be processed, and then if you are accepted or denied, you'll also receive an email from us at parking@clemson.edu, and then there's also going to be a wait list for if, say, we have 300 spaces that we're trying to fill up and we only approve 200 waivers. We are expecting to have an interest form that says, hey, you weren't accepted, but I still would like to be put on a lottery to bring my car. Those will be in as well, so we can fill up the spaces remaining that are left over from the exemptions and waiver process. Next slide, please. So like I said, some of the exemptions are listed here: personal medical exceptions, military service exceptions, specific academic or athletic obligations, that pretty much means, hey, I'm taking a class off campus that I need transportation to, that the university does not offer transportation to. Most of the time, freshmen do not fall in this category because they're mainly taking gen eds on campus, but we do know there are special circumstances of freshmen taking classes off campus. And like I said, your student must uh, not have access to transportation to get there. Like a lot of our complexes, CUI Car Center in Greenville, Research Park, all those, and then the student vet school out and next to Research Park, we offer transportation to. So those classes out there will not fall under that academic exemption. And then also off-campus employment. So if you work off campus, that we do not have transportation to, very similar to the academic, just if you choose to work off campus. And then, like I said, that other section is for if you feel that, hey, this is important to me, it's really detrimental, then you can submit with your reasoning in our exemption form, and exceptions will be taken on a case-to-case basis as well. Next slide, please. So now we'll talk a little bit about transportation, something a lot of students will be using next year. So a little bit of on campus. So these are our main three routes that kind of connect the outer parts of campus to the inner parts of campus and run in constant loops all day long from 7:30 in the morning to 5:30 at night. So we have the orange route that kind of services West Campus from the athletic district that kind of gets you around the basketball arena, the baseball stadium, softball, volleyball, all those sorts of parts of campus, and takes you right into center campus by Brackett, the main kind of academic core of campus. Purple route's going to be the southwest section of campus, kind of gets you down to more of the athletic, or not the athletic, the engineering section of campus, and towards the golf course and the Neary Alumni Center. Blue route's going to be East Campus, kind of getting you out towards the Botanical Gardens and more of those kind of locations out on the east side, like the fire station, recycling center, anything like that. Next slide, please. Our biggest utilizer for freshmen is our Clemson Nightline program. It's on-demand evening transportation to and from any location on Clemson's main campus. So your student, it's kind of like an Uber for Clemson students and Clemson students only. So they will be able to request a free ride on the Clemson Nightline app between these hours of 6 p.m. and 2 a.m. every day of the week, and they'll see how long of an estimated wait it is. They'll be able to track the bus. They'll be able to see the driver for the bus. And like I said, it's only Clemson student. You may not go exactly point to point. You may get on the bus and there may be another student on there going somewhere in between, but our rides are no longer than 10 minutes each. So it's a very safe option at night, rainy day weather, anything like that. It's cold. You don't want to walk from a dorm back, your friend's dorm back to your dorm all the way across campus. You're more than welcome to schedule a ride on the Nightline app. This past year, we moved over 100,000 students, so it's a very heavily utilized program. Next slide, please. Off-campus transit services. So this CAT bus is the City of Clemson transit service, and they run two main routes for us, heavily subsidized by the university. So it's probably about 95% Clemson students, and the other 5% is Clemson employees. That's pretty much the only people that ride the buses. You may have other city riders on there, but mainly it's people coming to and from campus on the red and gold route. The red route is could be your longest route. It connects all the way up through downtown Clemson into the upper northern off-campus apartments. And then it also connects you deep into Central and the neighborhood Walmart, Ingles, Publix, all those grocery stores, whatever you choose to shop off campus. And the gold route was recently added just 2 years ago. We call it the milk or ice cream route because the red route was getting so long that if you went shopping that at the farthest grocery store, by the time you got back, you either showed up back to your dorm with ice cream or milk. So we added the gold route. It kind of connects more of those quick service, CVS, Publix places, shorter, tighter loop. Just we get you in and out of one of the main grocery stores close to campus so you can quickly go grocery shop if that's all you're trying to do. You don't have to stop at all the other off-campus apartments. on your way in. You kind of get in and out, and it's a great service to utilize. And the city transportation's free. You never have to scan an ID, pay to get on the bus, anything like that. Just hop on and go. And all these buses are able to be tracked as well. And we have an apps section in one of the slides. Next slide, please. So airport shuttles, it's a free service again to students pretty much for any university major holiday. This is start of semester, fall break, Thanksgiving, winter break, spring break, anything major that the university gives off for. We offer an airport shuttle to GSP or Charlotte. This can range from 14 passenger buses all the way up to multiple 41 passenger buses. And it simply is just a pretty good program that's been building and building over the years of how many students are using it. It's a great opportunity, and the biggest thing I can say is if you do get on the wait list for any of these, we do clear through about 95% of the wait list. And that's mainly because we put our initial loads in of what we know we're going to drive, and then as the wait list gets bigger, we start to add drivers and buses as we know they're needed. So we don't have a bunch of empty seats and a bunch of empty buses going. So like I said, if you ever get on the wait list, we have a time frame on each shuttle date of when you can expect to start to move through the wait list as we start to add drivers and buses to those routes. Thank you. And next slide. So if you're going to Greenville, we do have a CUI car bus, like I said, that Clemson Automotive Center. It does run 6:30 in the morning to 10:30 at night, Monday through Friday. And then during the semester, we also have a Saturday service. So if you're traveling outside of one of those university holidays, say I need to head home for mom's birthday or something like that, and your student needs to get home, then it's a great option to get an Uber from the CUI car campus because it's only about a 10 to 15-minute ride, much cheaper than Ubering all the way from Clemson's campus. We know it's not a perfect solution, but it is a solution that we offer all year round, and it's a free bus to get on as well. This is the only bus that a student will ever have to tap their CUID on. That is just because we do run so far off campus and we only limit it to Clemson University employees and students because we do go so far off campus. And the CUI Car Center is a Clemson satellite campus. It is safe, it is secure, so your student has no problem waiting at the bus stop for an Uber or anything like that. It's a very common pickup spot for Ubers taking students to and from GSP. Next slide. So traveling throughout Greenville, say you want to go shopping or anything like that, we do have a GreenLink stop that we have partnered with GreenLink at the CUI Car Center. So you can also get off the CUI car bus and wait there for the GreenLink bus, and that will take you to a multitude of different places inside Greenville. So if you want to go shopping at Greenville Saturday Farmers Market, go to the mall, any of the shopping in downtown Greenville, Unity Park, if you want to go to the Swamp Rabbit Trail, that's all accessible through the GreenLink system off the CUI card connection. Next slide, please. So getting a little bit around, say, hey, buses aren't for me and you want to bike around campus, we do have Clemson Bike Share. We do have 11 stations across campus located near all the resident halls, dining halls, main academic buildings, FIKE, the recreation center, and then it's a pretty much a $20 annual fee, and that's from the day you purchase it, not from the day of class start or anything like that. You get 2 free hours of ride time each time you check the bike out. So if you check the bike out to go to your first class and plug it back in 15 minutes, you don't have an hour and 45 minutes left for that day. That 2 hour clock resets every time you check the bike out. And it is 25 cents every time you check the bike out. And they are e-bikes. They're not fully just sit there and let it go. It's pedal assist, and trust me, it makes the hills around campus a lot easier. They are very durable bikes, so you will see some students coming down hills and stuff like that, but we do maintain them, keep the brakes working very well because, the hills around campus, they're can be tough sometimes, but we also, if any student needs any classes or anything like that, if they're not comfortable with the system or riding bikes, our office is always more than happy to show them how the system works or how the bikes work or anything like that. Next slide, please. So Tiger's Commute is pretty much the all-encompassing app. If you're going to download one, I know you're probably been told to download 30 at this point, but this is the one that we've embedded everything into. So it's the if you want everything that parking and transportation has to offer, this would be that one app. It does have all of the other apps that I've talked about, bus tracking, the bike share, EV charging, stuff like that. It does have all of that in it as well if you choose to, but you can choose just to stay in this. It's a great rideshare program that it was originally built for, but we've turned it into so much more, which I'll show you on the next slide. So say your student's going to the airport or going to the grocery store, they can post a ride, say, hey, I'm going to the airport, I have two open seats. And your student may see that and say, hey, can I tag along with you? It's just a safe option that's been protected by a single sign-on, so only students can book trips with students, and your student, if they choose to post, can also charge for the trip, but that charge is protected by the DOT's, cent per mile, so there can't be any price gouging. So it changes as throughout the year, but it's usually around 60 cents a mile is what the max a student can charge, or they can choose to give it for free, but it's a great alternative to getting around, and students can see which rides are out there and choose to book them if there's seats available. So next slide, please. So this is kind of what I was talking about earlier about we turned it into much more. So just this past year, we launched over 10,000 parking space sensors around campus. So students, visitors, anybody can see how many spaces are available in each lot, meter space, ADA spaces, employee, EV charging, anything like that. So it's a great visitor tool as well. So, hey, I'm coming to visit. Where can I park? What's open? You can see before you get there and navigate directly to it. Like I said, it's got access to the bike share program, and then you can also see bus routes and schedules through here and track the buses as well. So next slide, please. Like I said, the Tigers Commute app, if you're going to download one, it's the one-stop shop for all of what we do. But here's a list of kind of what else if you choose, hey, I don't need to track the bus, I'm going to get a bike. That's the download for bike share. Flowbirds are meters. Clemson Nightline has its own app of how you request the rides and stuff like that if you choose to use so. So next slide, please. And just our information. If you have any questions about parking specifics, you can email parking at Clemson. If you have any information or any questions about transit, you can email transit@clemson.edu, and those respective departments will get back to you as soon as they can. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Mason. I am, again, Stephen from our Care Network here at Clemson, and wanted to share a little bit about planning ahead as you look to continue here at Clemson after a great first year. And so we're going to talk through what it looks like to live off campus and a little bit about my office and what we do. We're here to educate students and support families and students and navigate all kinds of things while you're here at Clemson. So keep in mind that the easiest way to find us is Googling Clemson Care, and you can find our office. Today, as we talk through some of this living off campus, I just want to give the disclaimer. We don't give legal advice, and we don't really interfere with anything that is landlord-tenant as far as like leases or things, but we are a resource for students and just want you to know that we are here to help you through the process. So our first slide, you might be wondering, why are we even talking about off-campus housing at this point in time? And the answer is simple. We've got a great first year experience here living on campus. And then we also think that a big piece of living here at Clemson and the Clemson experience is finding a space off campus. And often starting at the second year, Clemson students start using the local apartments and housing here in the area. And so here, even before you're starting the first year, the whole purpose of this conversation today is to help plan early to reduce the stress, to reduce that urgent feeling of what it will look like to find housing, and to help you navigate logistically what it might look like. So we've kind of broken this down into three sessions or three phases. The first phase is all about exploring and learning more about what it is to live off campus. And there's not supposed to be pressure here. There's not supposed to be any big push for you to hurry up and get this done, but more just really getting your attention and floating the idea to you that you might be looking for off-campus housing for your second year here at Clemson. And so just to prepare for that. And so one of the things that we are always excited about is around October, usually the last couple weeks in October. It's in and around fall break. It's not never during fall break, but potentially before or after. And so they'll see your students will see a date released. We'll have our fall housing fair and you will get to go and see all of the property managers. There's a lot of tabling, there's a lot of free giveaways. They're trying to get every student's attention. And there are great places to live off campus that are very close. We just learned all about the public transportation. They're easily accessible to campus, and there's a chance to talk with those property managers. You can start to see too maybe things about your potential roommates. And the key of this first phase is not to rush. There is time. And so we're not pushing students to hurry up and sign leases. If you come to the Clemson off-campus housing fair, the property managers will have leases available. They'll start to give some offers, but we're not ever going to push students. Make sure you sign your leases by this week. There's plenty of time. And wanted to show you too, we have a resource Clemson off campus. And so the next couple slides is going to show you what we have available. So again, if you Google Clemson Care, you'll see off campus housing resources. And we are partnered with actually apartments.com. And this is an official partnership where a student can create a login using their Clemson credentials. And this is where you will start to look for housing, look for roommates, and see how it really links Clemson and the off-campus apartments nearby. Our next slide will show you some of the more specific ways that you can search. You're able to look at through your account, you're able to find distance from campus, the price range, the amenities that you are looking for, your transit options, and you can really find different things that matter most to you as you're searching for this. And this actually also is part of the Greenville and Charleston campuses, as you will find. This is maybe later on down the line for grad school, but there's also a housing search for specific to our campuses in the other parts of the state. And you can start to bookmark what you like. You can save it for later and come back. Our next slide is going to show you one other search option. With that free profile, you'll be able to even create kind of your own profile of a roommate finder, and you will be able to find who you might possibly match with as a roommate. And so you can sort through all of these options and really start to think about who would you like to room with and what kind of communication style do they have? What kind of cleanliness do they have? Because it's really, really awesome to think about living with friends, but once you live with them, what do you need out of that roommate? And so, as you're looking for a roommate, this website has a lot of helpful tools for you to consider who you might want to live with and what you're looking for in a roommate. As we get closer to living off campus, and as you're getting closer into that time, you're going to start to narrow your options. And this could mean that you're looking very, very closely at locations as it even pertains to where are my classes next semester? Where are the spaces on campus that I want to be able to access the easiest and most often? You'll want to consider your transportation and your safety. You'll want to consider the lease terms. A lot of times when you're looking at leases, you'll want to consider, will this property allow you to break your lease? Will they allow you to sublet? And that could be for any number of reasons, because often these properties in the area will be leasing from July to June or July to July. And maybe you're only going to be here for the fall semester. You want to consider that before signing a lease. You want to consider that before signing a full year's lease for sure. And what would it mean if you were to need to back out of that lease or break that lease or sublet? Now, that website that I just mentioned is actually the place where you can turn right around and sublet that if it is an option for you. And you also want to just encourage very, very real conversations with um, someone who wants to be your roommate. Are they really considering the same property that you are? Do they have the same priorities that you do? Because as you get closer and closer, properties want to sign full lists of roommates, and you want to go into this with a plan of who you're really willing to stay with. Once you've found your place, you'll submit your rental application, and the big reminder here is read that lease. I know you've heard me say that already, but it truly is, it's the broken record that our office, when students come to us and they have questions about leases, we're reminding students, you don't have to sign this lease until you're so sure this is where you want to live off of campus. All right, next slide. And then once you've signed that lease, this is really neat. This is you being part of the community right here at Clemson. And you are, yes, a Clemson student, but you are a member of our community now, and you're taking on an even bigger, fun, exciting responsibilities and privileges of being here. And so, big pieces of that. You're going to want to build your budget correctly, and you're going to want to think through rent, groceries, transportation, your utilities, your internet, all of these things. You'll want to consider it before jumping into signing a lease and getting started for the next year at Clemson. And really, you want to be financially prepared up front with these costs, like security deposits. And possibly they're going to ask for first month's rent. How are you going to furnish this apartment? Or does it have a furnished package for you? Then you're going to set up things like your utilities, and these are local companies, water, power, internet. Some apartment complexes include it, some don't. And we highly recommend, and then most apartment complexes will also require that you go for a renter's insurance policy. Many landlords will have that in the upfront and let you know, but it's never a bad idea to protect your belongings and have an extra layer of security for yourself, and make sure that you're ready for being in an apartment that you're renting on your own. Um, then you'll want to learn about what they list in the lease as. Usually it's listed very directly as rights and responsibilities as tenants. And so it'll have any type of guidelines for living in a certain community. It'll have information about your overnight guests. It'll have information about your noise ordinance and your times of quiet hours, or anything that is specific to the rental property. And then you're also becoming a neighbor to those of us that are right here in Clemson. You're becoming my neighbor. And so there is a broader Clemson community that you're being part of. And so it's important to know those city ordinances, things like what are the guidelines for noise ordinances for the entire community, for trash, and for waste disposal. You'll want to learn how to be a good neighbor. And we believe that this is really another awesome part of the Clemson experience, that we have so many good properties to choose from. I saw it in my slide and I didn't even mention it, so I just want to put this out there. You'll see it as you go back through this presentation on your own. We are going to have a special session the week of the housing fair, and so that'll be a session put on by our office. And there is a special incentive as we're getting closer and closer to that, and you will see more coming from our office, and it'll be advertised with the housing fair as well. One of the most important, and so my next slide, one of the most important questions and most common questions we get asked is, how do you pay for off-campus housing? And this is really important because when you're living on campus, your financial aid will be applied to directly to your bill. And so you can pay for your room and board through your school bill. Well, living off campus, here's the trade-off. It will impact your school bill. Your school bill will not be as high, but you will have to have your rent paid directly to your landlords. And this means that you're going to have those funds on hand. You're going to have to pay to rent to your landlord. And so one of the biggest questions we get asked is, how do I use financial aid? There is a possibility, and the word is possibility, that through your financial aid, through your scholarships and your loans, you can actually have an excess, which will be handed to you as a refund. And that is money for you to use as if you were still paying your bill at that point. And so we like to remind students often that if you are receiving a refund from financial aid, where can that be applied to things like rent, utilities, groceries, all of those things? You want to keep a true budget. Those workshops that I've mentioned, both financial aid offers resources for budgeting for college students, and then we will be also offering those workshops throughout the year. And so again, be on the lookout for CARE as we offer the off-campus housing workshops as you prep for what will potentially be your second year at Clemson staying off campus. And then another thing, a lot of times students are looking for ways to pay, and there are part-time jobs here on campus. There are part-time jobs here on the in the community that you can utilize, and you'll want to start to think through now, how are you going to plan to pay for off-campus housing after the first year, be it through your savings, be it through family support, or if you're going to be self supported, how are you going to make sure that you have the funds on hand to pay your own rent locally here at Clemson? Our next slide shows, I believe it's the contact information for my office. As mentioned, we are a resource for lots of things here at Clemson and want to help you to navigate your time here, adjusting to Clemson, adjusting to your first year, all of those things. And so wanted to share the info here of our contact. You can reach out to any of us as you have questions about off-campus housing or others from the CARE Network.
Awesome. Thank you, Stephen. And I believe we have been able to answer your questions as we have gone throughout. Just give me 1 second to verify. And it looks like we are caught up. So I will just move us along here to our final reminders. In case you've missed any of the links that we've been sharing, we have sent out quite a few resources as we've gone throughout the presentation tonight, just again, complementing the content that we've been sharing. And so would certainly take a second to grab any of those from the chat, pin those as resources to check out a little bit later. One reminder and just plug for the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. We can send a link to that portal in the chat as well. My hope is that you have seen this before and that you have spent some time configuring your profile in the hub. We really treat this as our hub for all family communication, but we also have what's called communities within the portal. And so we have one specifically for anything related to first year families. So as you are continuing to go throughout your orientation experience, orientation means a lot of things here at Clemson. And so we want to make sure that you understand what that process is like and that you are getting information that you need. And so this portal is the tool that we primarily use, in addition to, of course, many other portals and apps, as I'm sure you've learned, just to make sure that you are receiving both information that is pertinent to your student, so what is coming up for them and ways that you can support them, but also just Clemson news in general. So anything that we typically would receive as folks connected to Clemson, want to make sure that we are mirroring that communication to you as well through the Clemson Parent and Family Experience portal. It's got a long name. We like long names for our tools here at Clemson. So we will, again, we've recorded this session. We will give us a couple days to kind of get that transcript edited, get it all how we need to go. We will upload that to our YouTube page and then again, share that out through the portal, typically in the next 2 to 3 days. We do have quite a schedule of these Tiger Talk webinars, so hoping that we can share our website link in the chat, which will show the description for each upcoming session, as well as which offices you can expect to be represented at those, times, dates, as well as registration links there on that website. If If you have any other questions, again, about the content that we've shared tonight or anything really at all, you're always welcome to reach out to us at cufamilies@clemson.edu. We thank you so much for joining us at tonight's session and hope to see you at the next one. Thanks, everyone. Go Tigers.